what do we do to ignite the spark of entrepreneurship in our youngsters? Let us hear it from Amit Agarwal, Global Senior Vice President and Country Head, Amazon India. He will be talking to Shankar Iyer, columnist and author of best-selling books including The Gated Republic and Accidental India.
My first question is that, your focus line is amazing. And I know Amazon in the US is amazing. They do like $10,000 per second, every second human being. That's the global picture. Well, amaze us as to how big Amazon is in India in terms of per second, per minute, delivery, people you connect with. What's it like?
Yeah, I think we kind of have this habit at Amazon. We are peculiar in that regard, that we focus on the things that we can control and leave the rest to customers choosing us. So I think we focus a lot of our energy on asking ourselves, how are we doing in terms of selection? How are we doing in terms of delivery? How are we doing in terms of reaching customers? So if I just give you a sense of scale over there, we have crossed 1 million small businesses as a part of our ecosystem. That's a big milestone for us. When we started with 100 sellers selling product in one category in 10 cities. So today we have nearly 200 million products on our website. We have nearly 1 million SMBs part of our ecosystem. We actually sell to every corner of the country. So if I take a sample of 2 hours of delivery on in an event or so on, I would say that customers from 99.7% of India's pin codes place at least in that kind of a couple of days worth of sample size. So it's very much ingrained in the daily habits of India. We are the largest marketplace. We are the most trusted marketplace. We are adding new customers faster than any other Amazon geography in the world. We are the fastest to grow to the Prime base that we have. And all in all, I'm super excited by how customers and businesses trust us today.
So if I were to take that a little forward and ask you, what's the number, what's a tag number that you have, like how much business you're doing, and how do you compare with in terms of market share? I know your footprint is pretty large, and the pin code data that you give gives a sense of that. But how do you compare with, say, Flipkart, Walmart, and how do you compare with the big gorilla in the room, which is Jio?
Well, I think that, all of these businesses are private in their size and scale. So it's hard for me to use any kind of data that is public. But off the data that is public, you can actually go and see traffic data, app installs. There are surveys that are done in terms of transacting customers, orders, and so on. And we are the leader from all those. We get the most traffic amongst all marketplaces in India. We have the largest seller base. We have the largest selection. We have the largest transacting customer base. And we believe we have the largest size as well in terms of units GMS. So, yeah, and again, as I said, when we think about our business, we are very laser focused on the pillars that we believe customers truly evaluate us on, which is selection, convenience, and value. And that we benchmark very sharply. And we know for a matter of fact that customers can get more selection on Amazon, get greater value, and get them faster and more reliably than anywhere else.
Okay, that's good to hear. You guys also, Amazon promised to sort of digitize small and medium entrepreneurs. I think the target was 10 million and job creation of 1 million or something. Where are we on the timeline there? What milestone are you at?
Yeah, so just for the sake of viewers, as context, we made a pledge to digitally enable 10 million SMBs, enable $10 billion in exports, and create 1 million jobs by 2025. And we are very happy with the momentum that we have. So again, our belief is that we should invest in digitizing businesses. Not all of them might land up. selling on Amazon, and that's okay with us. So when we look at just businesses on Amazon, which have actually, the digitized customer base is much higher, we crossed 1 million. So we are very excited by crossing that mark. Cumulative exports on Amazon are already exceeding $3 billion. So, very excited that we are contributing to a meaningful part of exports. And if I just look at jobs created just during COVID last year, I mean, just the numbers during COVID, we created 200,000 jobs just last year. In our life scale, life to date, we have created nearly 1 million jobs already. And we are pledging an incremental million by 2025. So all in all, we have made very meaningful progress along all of these dimensions. And I think over the next 5 years, next 4 years, we are very excited that we are ahead of our targets to get there.
Do you have like a story, an inspiring story to share on conversion of this a normal small business onto a digital platform? These are the inspiring stories that sort of, we have stories like this. And I am going to ask you also about how do you sort of view Shopify or Udaan, which is again another Desi effort. So do you have like a inspiring story to share with our viewers?
Yeah, I think one of the most satisfying things in our job is we get to hear these stories every day. And these are, if you think about, and the stories can be from the consumer side, it can be from the business side, just because even on the consumer side, we have stories of people receiving packages at the highest point in India, really remote regions where they don't have access to any organized retail. But when I think about the business side, plenty of stories. So if I think about this product that we have, which is called global selling, which is essentially allowing Indian manufacturers or brands to sell globally to global customer base. And what we have seen is an increasing trend of unique Indian flavors, brands, creations using Amazon to go and sell globally and build really digital global brands. There is obviously stories of brands such as Wadam Tea. They are a brand that started on Amazon, and they were discovered by Oprah in the United States on Amazon. And since then, they have just become a runaway hit. I mean, they are one of the best sellers on Amazon.com and very popular. And then you also have stories like Jack in the Box, a toy company that was started in Mumbai, and they were making toys for their I believe grandchildren or children, just because they just wanted to engage them. And they became such creative ideas that on Amazon.com, they are now bestsellers and they are getting a lot of attention and they are doing very well. And these kind of stories are every day. So many brands that are being created out of India. Even within India, just small stories like we have a Delhi store which actually sells women hygiene products. And during COVID, it's called Sirona Hygiene in Delhi. During COVID, their offline store was essentially disrupted and because of lockdown. And what they did is they started serving customers globally through e-commerce, and they saw like a 4x year-over-year growth. So even during COVID, they embraced technology, took their brand globally, and even small local stores. We launched this product called Local Shops on Amazon, where your neighborhood stores can open up an online storefront essentially on Amazon to complement their offline footfalls. And since you talked about Mumbai, there's a store which actually sells home and kitchen products in Mulund in Mumbai, a 30-year-old business, and they started opening up an online presence on Amazon, and they have seen significant growth that they're actually earning more money through online than they do otherwise. So a lot of such stories that come every day. And what is inspiring is many of these small businesses, much the same way as you saw STD booths become mobile recharge points and stationery shops become printing points. I'm seeing these neighborhood stores, businesses becoming very robust digital businesses by embracing the internet. So it's very inspiring.
So you have a kind of group or a segment of your business that sort of guides them, shepherds them. How do you bring on a person? Is this organic, or you reach out to them, you know of a product? I noticed that, I mean, this is amazing thing that I'm struck by, but a lot of non-residents look for puja material, and then even the cow dung cakes that are used in havans and stuff are now available online. And so how do you work to bring them into your business fold?
Yeah, I think there are a few things at the core of it. The Indian SMB is very entrepreneurial. As I said, they have been so adapted over the decades. If you track their history, yeah, they have adapted so well to changing circumstances. All you need is to empower them, and you need assistance to some degree. So we actually started really humble. When we started, we actually had this project called Chai Cart. There used to be just carts serving tea. It went all the way from Jammu and Kashmir to Kanyakumari, and from Mumbai to Northeast Assam. It was just serving tea in business districts, and it would engage in conversations with business on what they're doing, telling them about online, getting them interested. And once they're interested, you could engage them through webinars. You can engage them through just training material and get them online. We also have this initiative. It's called the Service Provider Network. So what we do is we create a network of third-party service providers, photographers, labeling companies, packaging companies, people who can digitize catalogs, and they offer services to these sellers. So we are, in some sense, a marketplace of these services, so that these sellers can get assistance. And then, at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you have really easy to use self-service tools, because many of them, you need to make sure that on a mobile phone, many of these tools work in very easy ways. So a lot of different initiatives, from on the feet, on the ground, force that we have, to relying on other third-party service providers, to self-service tools across the board that we engage businesses in.
That's a lot of good work, but also there is this flip side perception about Amazon, that the use of backend algorithm. I mean, so at the individual consumer level, I heard a very salacious story. I don't know how true this is, but that guys who return packages or who order single items kind of get pushed back into the queue, and guys who, the volume play. More significantly, there's been controversy about how Amazon favors its own products, its own companies that it has a stake in, or stuff like that. And then the B2C policy play has come in, and there's been some controversy about how Amazon has circumvented, or has sort of dodged, or operates in a gray area. However one looks at it, these are issues that are out in the public domain. So how would you sort of address that? What's your assurance that you are a fair play, equal opportunity platform?
Yeah, I think, first of all, the data speaks of a very different reality. And you could start with the data and ask yourselves, okay, how does the data look like? We have the number of sellers. If I just look at 2020, we had more than 1.5 lakh sellers come online. The number of sellers signing up to sell on Amazon has grown up by 50%, has accelerated since COVID has come. When we look at just the neighborhood stores, since we launched this program called Local Shops on Amazon, this program has brought in already 50,000 local stores across 700 cities. And that number is trending towards more than 1.5 lakh stores by the end of the year. So there's a lot of data that is there. There's a lot of, we also track the number of crorepati sellers, people who make more than 1 crore of rupees on Amazon. And that number is more than 5,000, and that has grown 30% year over year. So you can't really have a structurally robust growth across the ecosystem. I talked about exports. Sellers who are selling on Amazon are now exporting $3 billion cumulative, which is more than, which is such a significant percentage of B2C exports. You will always have vested interests who refuse to embrace technology when change happens, to find out all kinds of excuses not to do it. That has been the case when mobile phones came. That was the case when printers replaced kind of photocopying and so on. So I think the thing that inspires us most is that entrepreneurial energy of the people who are actually embracing technology and using Amazon to grow, because they are the ones who are going to unleash our potential. Every technology is going to be disruptive. There are going to be players that don't add value in the system, that may not
Yeah.
add value if they don't reinvent themselves. And if I just take
That's
the event Sambhav that's coming up in mid-April, we've had nearly 1 lakh registrations of small businesses wanting to attend that. So all in all, I think there is enough voice out there that is counter to what is hearing, but it's just that what happens is people pay attention to some of these voices, and I really don't have any comments on that. We try to focus on the customer, try to focus on serving our small businesses, and I'm so inspired by the success they're seeing on Amazon.
but technology disruption. I mean, I remember as a young journalist writing about computerization of railway tickets and what it cost when CMC did it, and the strikes after that and the problems that. Those are issues that are understandable, but I mean, I know that you're into mountain climbing, and so perception is a mountain that you have to climb every day, and the
And you do that by doing the really hard things day in and day out, and making the really hard promises consistently and earning trust over time. So at a point in time, you would always have the perception that the summit is too far away. I think you just have to grit it out, and which is what we're doing. And just so that I can add another point, we actually launched this program called the STEP program, which is there on the Amazon website for sellers for them to see. It very clearly lays out very clearly the tiers that the sellers can gain access to with what kind of performance. So that was an initiative we took last year to, in some ways, disambiguate the confusion in their heads, how they can move from one set of capabilities to another. And that is another effort for us to make it very transparent and clear to sellers that may be misunderstanding some of the capabilities. And we have got really good reviews from sellers on how that has helped them clarify what they're supposed to do, which they were confused about before.
the aspect of perception is that, I mean, it's also a factor of function of communication. I mean, I'm just making an observation. Your data and the perception, there seems to be a wide chasm of daylight there. So probably there is some work to be done there, because the moment you say Amazon, it sort of pops up. The controversies pop up much before the points that you're making. Very valid points, some of them in terms of the growth in number of crorepati sellers and stuff like that. So just to move ahead on how the company is sort of, so I noticed that you guys are into payments now. Amazon Pay is one message that's sort of beaming through the cricket matches, and I suppose through IPL also it will be there. So is this just for the goods and merchandise thing, or is there a bigger plan? Because I see you're allowing recharge and stuff like that. But are you also, like Alibaba, looking at financial products on Amazon?
Well, we have been doing Amazon Pay for some time. It is, if you think about India, where people primarily use cash, digital inclusion and digital payments is an important effort if you are to serve hundreds of millions of customers. So if Amazon is going to be serving a very large customer base in India, it is our responsibility to make sure that we help them come into the digital fold. So Amazon Pay simply produces, just because traditional credit cards, bank accounts may not be sufficient to bring customers into the digital regime, we have actually built specific products under Amazon Pay, experiences that allows customers to load their balance, use UPI, and use other methods. We launched something called Pay Later, which actually provides short-term credit to customers to purchase any products. And then they can take that same experience to all their use cases. So the Amazon app can be used to recharge your bills, to book your movie ticket, to book your travel ticket, buy digital gold, send money to your friends and family. So pretty much all the things that you would want to do on a daily basis. And then you could also use the Amazon app offline. We have crossed about 5 million merchants that accept Amazon Pay, and simply scan the QR code and use either your balance or UPI or one of these payment methods to pay. So all in all, our objective remains that we want to help customers become digital. And our belief is that the more customers become digital through the Amazon app, the more they would shop with us. So, we are super excited by the traction that we are seeing with payments. Yeah, and clearly, one of the things that customers expect is to help them with affordability too. So, as I said, we do offer a payment method called Pay Later, which allows you to qualify for short-term credit. We also offer a co-branded card with ICICI. It's called the Amazon Pay Prime card, which actually gives you great rewards if you're a Prime customer.
So how big is the payment play here? How would you sort of compare it with the other, let's say Google Pay, PayPal, Paytm, which is the Indian giant? How would your payment segment compare? I mean, how big is it, and where do you see it in terms of size, in terms of the value proposition, or in terms of the number of people who are using it?
Yeah, I mean, we have more than 40 million UPI handles on Amazon and more than 5 million merchants that accept it. So it's pretty significant in scale and right up there among the top payment alternatives that customers have. Now, having said that, our approach is a little different. Our approach is focused on making it easy and convenient for the Amazon customer to pay for anything and pay anywhere. So in that sense, we are more focused on driving adoption with our Amazon customer base versus trying to have a separate app that allows anyone to access it. So we are more popular with people that are with Amazon. And as we serve more and more customers in India, that base is growing all the time. So, as I said, we have more than 40 million UPI handles growing every day, and more than 5 million merchants accepting us. We are a very meaningful share of the total UPI volume in the country. And I would say that, we are right up there amongst the top payment methods.
Let's talk about the ecosystem. India is a complex market, and every consumer, so my friend Rama Bijapurkar calls India market is, and we've had this discussion that it's like the multiple interpretations of faith, and there is one Hinduism and stuff like that. So the market is complex, the marketplace is complex, but the policy landscape is also much more complex. And having written about this in 3 books, I know the landscape is really rough. So what has been your biggest challenge in terms of the policy landscape? Do you think there is something that can make things better, enhance the adoption of digital technology for small and medium enterprises, for customers? What would you want done if you were to be asked?
So see, every country we operate in has its own nuances in terms of regulations and policies. India is no different. And our first and foremost objective is to ensure that we are playing by the laws of the land. You kind of put that constraint, and then you put another constraint on top of it, which is your customers would not take that as an excuse. They would expect you to offer them large selection, great value, and great convenience. And the only way out of this kind of conflicting, sometimes conflicting forces is to invent on their behalf. We have done a lot of things in India that we don't do anywhere else. Whether it is building a seller flex system for our sellers so that they can convert their own locations as warehouses. And we had to do that because the tax regulation in India don't allow sellers to move their products as easily across the country. Similarly, we have invested in digital payments so that we can get customers sort of to use us. We have put a lot of energy in exports. That's an important priority for the country, and again, it's good for our customers. So there are a lot of things that we are trying to do to make sure we invent on behalf of both the consumers and sellers. I think the thing to kind of realize is internet and e-commerce have transformed daily lives globally, and India is not going to be any different. Uh, uh, I think in India, it's going to have an even more profound impact. If you look at kind of the socio-economic structure of the country, internet is the only leveler in some sense. So I think it's going to be important for inclusion and equity in society. And with that in mind, I feel that it's more of an opportunity that we are at an inflection point, that any policy recognizes that the structural shift that is happening, the right kind of policy should be an enabling policy that accelerates this trend. It should recognize the role that e-commerce is playing. It should focus on the paper cuts out there, the friction that SMBs face in just moving products across the country. The parity between offline stores and online businesses in terms of just ease of doing business. Or if you want to export things from India outside, the number of forms that you have to fill in, and are those forms digitally available so that you can do that easily. And just having a policy regime that is more predictable and more stable will allow more longer term investments, because when you're trying to shape the whole industry all the way from logistics, payments, infrastructure, you need to be able to make 7-year out, 10-year out investments. So I would say that an enabling policy focused on removing the obvious paper cuts, improving ease of doing business for SMBs online, that is forward looking, that is stable and predictable to attract long term investments, I think would serve us well.
The pandemic has sort of accelerated every trend that we've seen in disruption, whether it's climate, whether it's online digitization, automation, and I suspect it will continue. But do you think that post the pandemic, the online story continues to be to sort of ride the trajectory? There's also this new aspect, and I spoke about policy earlier, and it's not just India. There's a global pushback about domination, about monopoly, market control, and Amazon and other digital players, even Google and Facebook and all, are sort of facing the challenge of many regulatory events in Europe, in the US, and of course in India, where there is this Tandav story playing out. So how do you sort of see this playing out? Do you think that, yes, internet is a leveler, internet creates equal opportunities, data access is important, but there is also the domination question. And then subsequently, I wanted to come to the Amazon Prime content controversy. But I just wanted to hear how is, since you were in the core team of Jeff Bezos, how do you approach the worry or the vulnerability or the fear among people, the perception that big players dominate and kill other players? Like, how would you sort of would you see Udaan as a competition, which is aggregating B2B? Would you see as a collaborator? I'm sorry, there are too many questions there, but I'll leave it to you.
I think at the core of it, it's important to realize e-commerce is barely like 3% of overall retail in India. And people just forget. It's like the shiny thing that gets disproportionate attention when the focus should be on enabling frameworks that accelerates what is becoming a very structural shift that, in my opinion, internet and e-commerce is probably going to be our magic wand to propel India's potential in the 21st century. It is what is going to accelerate how we make digital India real. I think it is going to take Make in India global at scale. It's going to create jobs and skills. It's going to build businesses that truly embrace technology and become more digitally robust businesses. And you always would have some businesses that would be on the wayside because at every disruption, as we talked about, that happens. But in terms of
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to know whether the points that you're making have been received. Is the reception, absorption, adoption in the policy circles? I mean, the point that you make about India's opportunity to take Make in India global, to create jobs, stuff. In your engagement with the Indian policy makers, does it get received?
Absolutely. I mean, there is a high degree of understanding on how this can truly propel India forward, and we get tremendous support. But at the same time, it is okay for us to be scrutinized as well. I have no qualms about that, and we should be as an important critical player in this ecosystem and a critical partner for the government in these efforts. Uh, I would also say that I'm cognizant of the concerns that are there on how do we make the growth more holistic and more inclusive. And I gave you some examples of things that were ideas that came in through engagement,
Yeah.
which is the STEP program, so that you can have
Yeah.
a lot more transparency, local shops that brings local shops on Amazon. And that's what constructive dialogue brings in. So I would say, you know, there is definitely an understanding. There would be many winners. There would be many models. To your other part of the question, there would be internet. Online commerce is so small that the rate of change is only going to accelerate in the coming years. There's going to be more innovation ahead of us than what we have seen. There's going to be many more models, many winners, and we are barely at the beginning of what lies ahead. So I think I'm a very big optimist. I truly believe that uh, uh, our job is best done by just focusing on the customer, focusing on the small medium business and enabling them, and the rest of it will take care of itself.
Now, Amazon Prime is sort of the icing in this play in terms of, I mean, just like everything else, pandemic has sort of increased adoption of entertainment at home, streaming and stuff like that. And you guys have sort of walked into a major controversy on the content area in what's happening with Thunder. Do you worry that this is going to, what kind of is going to impact the larger story? What kind of corrective measures do you foresee in terms of that segment?
Well, I mean, I think Amazon Prime, by the way, is our flagship loyalty program that combines many things. It's free, fast delivery, it's free music and free streaming video, amongst other benefits. So Prime Video, that's what you're referring to, is an important benefit for our Prime customers. And Amazon Originals, the content that we produce for customers has been particularly loved and enjoyed by customers in multiple languages. And I think on the good side, it's bringing power to storytellers to tell stories in ways that were never told before. It's providing an avenue for actors, producers, directors, new talent to showcase their potential. And I feel that the streaming world is going to unlock that aspect of a digital India tremendously. Now, having said that, we completely recognize that being sensitive to local sensitivities, making sure that we are appealing to the broad customer base is a responsibility. We have already apologized as far as the Tandav content went, and we are partnering with the government to figure out what the right um, uh, uh, governance mechanisms should be, so that
I have a question, I mean, which is, I also know that you're a marathoner. So is this, Amazon was in China and had to sort of exit for reasons I sympathize with. But It's also an aspect of competition in terms of how the Chinese players and sort of approach the online business. We have in India Reliance and JioMart sort of forging ahead. You also have a multinational competition. Is your sense that Amazon is going to be around? Are you going to, in terms of the marathon, are you pacing well? I know marathoners don't assess every kilometer or every milestone, but this has been 10 years or so for Amazon to be in India. Do you think you're here for good, or you feel is this challenge sort of ramping up for you?
Well, we've been here a little over 7 years, so it's not been 10 years yet as far as our India business goes. And we're super excited with the momentum that we have. As I said, if somebody told me 7 years ago when we started that we would be at a place to be India's largest marketplace, largest online store, with the largest transacting base, the largest number of orders, most trusted multiple years in a row, with the fastest growing Prime member base, adding more new customers than anywhere else in the world, I would take it. I think it has surpassed all our expectations. So our strategy has been working. We are very excited by the momentum. Now, having said that, e-commerce is very, very early, and there are going to be many winners, many players, and competition is good for customers. I actually am excited that there are so many alternatives that are emerging, because that's good for, it accelerates the whole idea of consumers and selling partners and ecosystem coming digital. Our job, irrespective of the competition, we wake up every day in the morning paranoid that customers will only shop with us until the very moment they find a better option somewhere else. So our job is to remain laser focused on serving them. And in a truly transparent world, if we do our job well, they will choose us. So that's how we function every day. And I'm super excited. We are here for the long run. We actually pledged last year, as we talked about, to digitize 10 million SMBs, enable 10 billion in exports, and also create 1 million jobs. And we pledged an incremental $1 billion just to focus on this particular pledge. COVID, if anything, has proven that customers and selling partners are relying on Amazon in their daily lives and livelihoods more than ever before. I take that responsibility very seriously as the head of this initiative in India, and Amazon takes that responsibility very humbly and very seriously. So, it's still day one. We are here for the long run, and we're super excited by the momentum that we have.
So you're saying that this is a long race and you're here to stay. Do you have any surprise coming up which you would want to share with us just before we wrap up?
Well, I think at the end of the day, we know that 10 years from now, if you and I were talking, customers would still say, I would like more selection, greater value, and more convenience. And I think that executing on that on a day in and day out basis to make selection better, reduce cost of operations for sellers so that they can pass on that value as lower prices, and to make your deliveries faster and more reliable is kind of 8 out of 10 points. So I would say that we are very excited about being focused on the most boring stuff and getting better at it every day. And for us, the Prime adoption is kind of the culmination of that focus, which tells us that customers love us. So I would say that we have obviously are focused on payments. We are focused on grocery and building that out. We are testing out many other things that we believe customers would love. But at the core of it, we are very laser focused on using technology, enabling sellers to add selection, reducing cost of operations so that they can offer greater value, and building infrastructure so that deliveries get faster and more reliable. And I think that kind of will continue to be our focus in the years to come.
I mean, we started buying books online, and I thought that was a big deal. So I'm wondering whether, do you see in the future, what's the future trend like? Do you see in the future people being able to buy more than just consumer durables? I don't know. I mean, the imagination
You
boggles
can
me.
buy all kinds
I mean,
of stuff on Amazon. I mean, I'm saying that we sell everything from beds to appliances to TVs to pets to grocery to books to flowers, cakes. I mean, you name it. You said cow dung. I mean, who knew people would be buying cow dung on Amazon, or somebody would be selling cow dung on Amazon? So I would say that in terms of selection, with 200 million products, we are probably already there. That it is not hard to find what you're looking for on Amazon.
well, I guess we'll have to see whether someday online e-commerce sort of starts selling the Tesla car or the Indian electric vehicle online. I mean, finally, they are also MRP products, and so if somebody brings that online, might be an interesting play. But it was lovely talking to you, Amit Agarwal. You sort of went through the difficult questions and the issues, and I hope that you're able to tell your story better and more forcefully. And I do recognize that there have been changes in the policy domain and things are moving. This is a government that seems to be focused on doing things differently. I hope some of the ideas that are being thrown up by internet entrepreneurs get adopted, because at the end of the day, the only thing that is stopping India and Indians from sort of shifting orbit is what we call the state, and not just the political state, but I think the regulatory state. And I hope for a better future for all of us. Thank you very much, Amit.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. You have a good day.
We hope you really enjoyed that session. You can find the entire schedule of ThinkEdu 2021 on our website, eventexpress.com. You can watch the rest of the sessions on our YouTube channel, eventexpress.com, newindianexpress.com, and edexlive.com. You can also check out our Facebook and Twitter handles. Thank you for watching.